we started this series, and right off the bat, Nico Malala. So Nico and I have been friends for years now, and I've helped him with a lot of stuff, starting Windrock and his any really big races he's done in the U.S. I've been part of, just helping him one way or the other, whether I'm the race director or behind the scenes. And so when we said we're going to do this series, like, we had wanted to use Windrock, but Windrock had just changed hands. And the reason we wanted to use Windrock is the Tennessee National is a epic U.S. national race. It has history. I helped start it with Nico and Sean, and right when we did this, that was when the park switched hands, and Aaron took over the park, Aaron Gwynn, with a bunch of Red Bull partnership money involved in the park and contracts and all this. And so we're sponsored by Monster, and it just wasn't going to work. So Nico stepped up, and we knew we needed a southeast venue because the southeastern United States, if you don't know, your audience, a lot of them are in the States, it's just electric. Like, it's the most up and coming downhill community that I've seen in 20 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy what they've built down there. And so we quickly just put together a deal to put the first stop at his new park, Rock Creek. And that event was amazing. Like, you want to talk about a shit show. Like, back of house for that one.
What, getting ready and just like...
Gosh, like,
So
I drove, so one of the things I got to do with this series, I got to buy like an F450, which is a pickup truck I've always wanted, because I had to buy this giant 40-foot gooseneck trailer to tow stuff and do all this. And so I get this truck, and I drive to Wisconsin to get timing equipment and a U-Haul trailer. Then I drive down to Missouri, and I get this big trailer transfer. I drive all the way back to New Jersey where I live. Then we drive down to the event. We haul everything under the sun we need for this event. We worked 24/7. Like, we were just nocturnal setting that event up. Like, this is the first time setting up this trussing we got. This is the first time figuring out how this goes together. Like, first time doing a lot of the stuff that was like, yeah, we knew it from US Open, but we had never had to take it on the road like that. And like, inefficiencies, you want to talk about chaos and inefficiencies. Oh my gosh. The cleanup from that, first of all, the race was amazing, but the cleanup from it, we just worked through the night. Like, we worked till the sun came up cleaning up from that race. Like, now we've got it down to where, like, in a couple hours, we got to figure it out the night of the race, but it was good. It was really exhausting, but good. And people were hyped, like, just the imagery of it, everything we do. We work with Gravity Cooperative on this race show that we do, that those are the guys filming this for us today.
Yeah,
they do,
big shout out, huge shout out.
Exactly, GCO. And they did like this, just worked with me on this idea that I had. First of all, they did the whole show and all that, but I had this idea for doing like a full-blown press conference at the end of the race. I wanted to do it with the US Open, but like, just never had like the organization or the nuts to just do it. And it was like halfway through the race week, and we had talked about it, and I was like, we're just doing it. Like, win, lose, or draw, like, who cares if it sucks? Like, if we don't start it with the first race, we might never do it this year. And so we just like put this press conference together. It came out sick, and just started the ball with it. And everybody was like, this is amazing. So like, the imagery of what we do looked different than what people had seen. It's very similar to a lot of motorsports, like the way it comes across on the camera with our branding and our setups and stuff like that. And then from there, we rolled into Mountain Creek, classic venue. I've been doing races there since the 90s and started the US Open there in 03. And that was amazing. George and the crew there crushed it. That track came together. That was a like, behind the scenes, that was like a really tough track build. Like, the goal was to like not run the same track they'd been running, so it put a pretty heavy lift on those guys. And we routed this thing out with like hitting some of the spots we wanted to on the mountain that we knew were good, but then leaving some like in between spots. They're like, we'll figure it out. And like, those guys burned the midnight oil. got that track together, had a great race there. That one was odd because it was so close to my home. You know, I thought it was going to be easy, but it wasn't. And then we took the road show all the way to California, which was cool. Back at Snow Summit for same place we were with the U.S. Open in 2019, and got to work with the crew there. Big shout out to like Ryan Wormsbecker and his crew. We took a track that was what I would call like marginally ready for us, you know, for what we demand, with like widening it and safety features and B-netting and pads and all this, and worked with them to turn this thing into just a gem. Like the track rode so well.
Yeah, it looked good on camera too.
It
huh?
was sick, yeah.
Looked fast, and the response from the riders seemed they were pumped.
It was amazing, yeah. And that's something that, like, you know, is worth noting. We don't we don't look at things necessarily the same way they do in Europe. Like, I'm less concerned with the track being hard. Like, I don't care if people say it's too easy. It's about making it good for racing. Lots of lines, the ability for athletes to make the right decisions to gain time. Track walk is super important. You need to see the ruts. You need to see where you're going, see what lines you're taking, and like create a whole chess game, not just everybody racing down the same line. And like this track here for the U.S. Open, I mean, it's not a steep track. It's not a long track. It gets people always want to talk shit about it, but the reality is every time we come here and we build it, you know, we say build it. We take a trail that they run all the time. We build it into a racetrack, and dude, this track delivers. The Snow Summit track, though, it was just like nobody had put on a real high-level downhill race in the Southeast or Southwest in quite a long time, and so we turned heads. It was good.
Yeah, really good. And I guess a little bit is because amateurs come out and race, so you have to keep it realistic for the masses. Right?
That's a factor. It
like
is.
It is a little factor. It's not really like amateurs that can't ride. Like amateurs are the amateur category, but like they're incredibly talented.
It's definitely it runs the gamut. You know, you get everything. It is a little bit part of it, but we are willing to do like different lanes. Like this race, for instance.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess you
like
can do
we had to separate.
Yeah,
we had to separate some of it, but we try to give the amateurs as much of the main track as possible, so they want to move up. You know what I mean? How else are they going to get to? But a lot of it has to do just what we work with. Like bike parks in America aren't like they are not. They just don't have the same level of just crazy natural trails that we see in a lot of the steep old mountains in Europe. And
yeah.
I don't know, you can blame it on liability. I don't know what you blame it on, but it doesn't matter though. Like it's just what we have to work with, and the racing is so good. And we have like really tight races too. Like on Sunday, the times here I'm guessing are going to be really tight because the ability to like the ability for the track to separate riders isn't there as much as it is for the riders to be competing against each other. And to me, I think that's sick.
Yeah, I mean, it makes for exciting racing, definitely. I mean, it's crazy to see how close racing is, even on, say, an easier track or something. Like, it just blows my mind. I mean, World Champs was ridiculous, right? And it's probably going to be similar time gaps, you know?
Yeah, I think that we could see, you know, 1/100th of a second win. Like, it wouldn't surprise me. Timer's got a hard job.